This weekend, we at Catholic Communications dedicate our programs in memory of Bill Putnam, a broadcast pioneer and former owner of WWLP who passed away a week ago. In no small part, the legacy of our broadcast ministry is the result of the generosity of Bill and his family. May he rest in peace.
Coming up on this final 2014 edition of Reel to Reel, we pay tribute to a former colleague presenting his touching final segment on a young woman who has overcome much in her life. And we'll look back at 2014 and my visit to Poland. These stories and more just ahead on this edition of Reel to Reel.
From throughout Western New England and beyond, this is Reel to Reel, your window on the world around you. Here is your Reel to Reel host, Sharon Roulier.
And welcome once again to Reel to Reel. I hope you had an enjoyable Christmas day. As we prepare for the new year, we look back to 2014. For the Diocese of Springfield, it was marked by the joyous August installation of our new bishop, Mitchell Rosansky, but also with sadness as we bid farewell to much beloved Bishop Emeritus Joseph McGuire. 2014 also marked the canonization of two revered popes, newly created St. John the 23rd and St. John Paul II. And for me, it was exciting because I had the chance to visit the land of my ancestors, Poland, in the footsteps of St. John Paul II. But 2014 was also a sad occasion for the Sisters of St. Joseph, who had to sell their mother house to raise much-needed retirement funds. It also meant moving their administrative offices to a new location. Terry Hegarty reports.
This is the occasion of the blessing, not of this building, but of its new use, its new occupants, and the new ministry that happens here.
The Sisters of St. Joseph, a community of 227 women religious that have been serving in the Diocese of Springfield for more than 130 years, continue to tighten their budget due to severe monetary concerns. Most recently, they sold their Montmarie headquarters and relocated their administrative offices to the rectory of the former Our Lady of Hope Parish in Springfield. The sisters held an official blessing of the new offices last month. Nearly 2 years ago, the sisters announced that the congregation was facing a severe financial crisis.
We've shared with the public our financial circumstances in the Sisters of St. Joseph and our need to act so as to be able to care for all our sisters and continue our mission. And in order to do that, after really extensive analysis of our finances, we found that the only steps that would really get us close to achieving those ends would be sale of our Montmarie property and the move of our retired sisters to shared facilities with other religious congregations.
Sister Maxine expressed gratitude to the bishop and the diocese for allowing them to utilize this space rent-free. Last summer, approximately 30 retired sisters who were living at Montmarie and Holyoke moved to other religious communities in Holyoke, Milton, and Framingham. Sister Maxine says the moves have been painful but necessary. The sale of the Montmarie property in Holyoke to Trico Partners Incorporated was completed December 2nd. The 52-acre campus includes the Montmarie Health Care Center, the congregation's mother house, and 2 HUD-supported senior residences. Sister Maxine says that the sisters are pleased that the principals of Trico and their affiliates are people of faith, and that they are respectful of the faith of the sisters. The sisters will retain the use of their chapel for funerals and other services, and will still have full access to the cemetery on the grounds. Bishop Rosansky says the arrangement for the new offices helps all the people of the diocese.
Of course, it's very important for us and for the sisters that they maintain their ties with Springfield, and this is really one of the ways in which they concretely, in moving in here, show both their roots and their continued commitment to the city of Springfield and to the Diocese of Springfield.
A dramatically different economic and vocations climate existed for much of the time that the sisters served in the diocese, allowing the sisters to thrive. The sheer number of active sisters in the early to mid-20th century meant that the community was self-sustaining. But the sisters were paid very little for their dedicated service. By the 1990s, the combination of a decline in vocations and a vastly different financial atmosphere made that model of religious life unsustainable. Sister Maxine says that the support that the sisters have received in response to their needs has been outstanding.
But it really has been an experience of God's blessing at every single step along our path. We have been met with generosity everywhere we've turned. I think of it as before the request has left my mouth fully, I have received a yes in response.
Sister Maxine says that similar changes are happening in religious communities all across the country, but she assures people that the Sisters of St. Joseph will continue to minister to the people of Western Massachusetts. The Montmarie Health Care Center and the 2 housing and urban development facilities will continue to operate. Aside from the sisters who are working in the administrative offices, there are Sisters of St. Joseph all across the diocese and beyond, working in a variety of ministries. And by shoring up their financial footing, they plan to continue their work for years to come. Reporting for Reel to Reel, this is Terry Hegarty.
During 2014, we at Catholic Communications mourned the unexpected passing of our colleague Tim Lindop. Tim was a producer with us for a number of years, specializing in touching profiles, often told in the voice of the persons being featured. When he passed last August, he had a very endearing project that he was working on, the touching story of a young girl overcoming physical difficulties. In Tim's honor, Carolee McGrath completed what he began and shares it now with us.
Crystal Torres shows everyone she meets the light and love of Christ just by her smile when she's playing basketball, in school, or with her family. While most of us get caught up in what we say and how we say it, Crystal preaches the gospel just by being herself.
Why is God important to you?
He's in my heart.
He's in your heart.
Yeah.
Crystal, who just turned 21, has Prader-Willi syndrome.
Prader-Willi is, to simplify it, is you're missing a piece of the 15th chromosome that tells us we're full. Crystal is hungry 24 hours a day. It involves, it could affect, their cognitive, it could affect their stature.
Carmen Torres, Crystal's mom, says she knew something was different during her pregnancy.
Yeah, not like a typical infant. Crystal wouldn't take the bottle. It'd be very difficult for her to suck on the bottle because of her low muscle tone. She was diagnosed at the beginning, she was diagnosed with failure to thrive.
Carmen and her husband Orlando sought answers, but Crystal wasn't diagnosed until she was almost 3.
It was scary at first, I'm not gonna lie to you, but I knew that God gave her to me. I knew I had to take care of her, and I had to figure out what was going on. I had to educate myself. And that's what we've done.
Carmen and her husband have 3 children. Crystal is in the middle and the center of her extended family too. Carmen says they had to adjust early on, learning to take care of a child with a disability. But despite her challenges, there's not much holding Crystal back. She competes in the Special Olympics. She's an altar server at St. Mary's Parish in Westfield, where she also teaches CCD.
I think especially with this new Pope, we're starting to remember our call to joy, and if nothing else, that's what Crystal brings. She's such a presence of sheer joy, and her spirituality seems to be quite profound just in terms of a faith life and a prayer life, and she's able to bring all that to bear when she's at church and praying and singing, but it's her joy that comes through the best.
Crystal graduated from Westfield High School and is taking classes at Westfield State, where she's the assistant manager for the women's basketball team. Head coach Andrea Bertini met Crystal at a basketball clinic. She says the team immediately embraced her.
And Crystal stuck out to me in the clinic as someone who really got along well with our players, and she seemed really enthusiastic about the team and basketball. When I talked to her teacher, she touched base with Crystal, and Crystal wanted to do it, so it just worked out really well.
And Crystal seems to inspire everyone she meets.
Crystal is like a ray of sunshine over and over again at the different work sites, internships, in college. People are just touched by her exuberance, her love of life, just the soul that she has that comes through each day. She just walks into a room and brightens it up. People just connect with her. All levels, all ages, all types of people are just drawn to her.
And it's easy to see why. Crystal, who volunteers regularly at a soup kitchen, would like to be able to live independently one day. But for now, she continues to work hard at everything she does, overcoming obstacles, defying the odds, all with grace and a smile.
I understand that you help out at the soup kitchen.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you do there?
I help the plates to the homeless, and we help them feed food. I greet people.
And do you think that the people who come to the soup kitchen sometimes are sad or lonely or afraid?
Yeah.
And so how do you help them?
I help them smiling.
And sometimes that's all it takes to show people God's unconditional love.
Westfield!
Reporting for Reel to Reel, I'm Carolee McGrath.
What a heartwarming story, and we thank Carolee for completing Tim's last assignment. He will be missed.
Meryl Streep travels into the woods, and Julianne Moore gives a powerful performance. Let's take a look at this week's Real Culture. Into the Woods.
I wish
I had something more positive to say about this film, but I really do not. The Tony Award-winning play, now a big film, lacks the punch it needs to make it shine. Director Rob Marshall is at the helm again, and really at times makes this film too dark and not a fun little trip. Meryl Streep, who is always great, takes on the role of the witch, but I wish she had more things to do than her long, drawn-out, boring scenes. But of course, that's just my opinion.
bring them, and I guarantee a child as perfect as child can be.
Go to the wood! And now for a real powerful drama. It's called Still Alice and stars Julianne Moore as a young woman of 50 who starts to show the signs of Alzheimer's disease. This film shows her decline and how her family, including her husband, played by the always perfect Alec Baldwin, deal with her coming to grips with this terrible disease. Moore was recently named Best Actress at the Cannes Film Festival and by the National Board of Review for this role. And she is a shoo-in for an Oscar nomination. This is a gripping, sweet, and at times hard to watch film. But in the end, it makes us all stop and think for a minute and thank God for the gifts we have. Please bring the Kleenex.
I have good days, bad days, and on my good days, I can, almost pass for a normal person. But on my bad days, I feel like I can't find myself.
And now a quick rundown of what worked and what did not in some of these films. Jennifer Aniston in the film Cake, a great performance in an otherwise boring film. Clint Eastwood's new film American Sniper. Now it's a great action film, but it's way too long. Bradley Cooper turns in a first-rate performance. But if this film only could have been cut down, it would have been much better. People keep asking me my favorite film of the year. Well, this year it's a tie. Birdman with Michael Keaton in the role of a lifetime, and the film Boyhood, which was filmed over 12 years with each character growing with each new scene. a film that has Best Picture written all over it. And you can see my reviews as well as read other movie reviews provided by the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops online at iobserve.org. That's iobserve.org. Coming in mid-January will be my special on the Critics' Choice Awards, where I travel to Hollywood and meet such stars as Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Aniston, and Marion Cotillard. Look for that terrific special, only here on Reel to Reel. For Reel to Reel, I'm Mark Giza. Have a terrific weekend.
New Year's Day not only marks the start of 2015, but it also is a feast day in the church dedicated to Mary, the Mother of God. Earlier this month, the National Museum of Women in the Arts in Washington, D.C. opened a fascinating exhibit entitled Picturing Mary, Woman, Mother, Idea. This landmark exhibit brings together more than 60 Renaissance and Baroque era masterworks from the Vatican Museum and other museums, churches, and private collections in Europe and the United States. We pay a visit now through this Catholic News Service video.
The wonderful upcoming exhibit at the National Women's Museum here in Washington, D.C. is about Mary, woman, mother, idea. This wonderful presentation will provide viewers who believe and love Mary and those who are not yet well acquainted with Mary a chance to immerse themselves in this wonderful message of this young woman who said yes to God, gave birth to our Savior Jesus Christ, who liberated us from sin. And this engaging story is told through sculpture, through many beautiful icons from the world over, things that you would have to travel to Florence, to Vatican, and the Mediterranean to see these realities.
And if you were going to assemble a who's who party, cocktail party of all the greatest artists, they're inviting them all to come. So Raphael, Michelangelo, Durer, Rembrandt, so there's some, it's mostly Italian, and mostly Renaissance and Baroque. A few delicious surprises, Caravaggio's Holy Family with the naked and adorable angel, wings unfurled, honoring Mary. It's really kind of got every wonderful thing. So it's pretty exciting, actually.
For me, one of the ones that I'm really looking forward to seeing in person is Lorenzo's Annunciation. In this painting, he depicts in a wonderful way that archangel speaking to Mary. And you can see the joy as she is replying and accepting and saying yes. In dark relief at the bottom of the painting is a Genesis account where you see the deception with the serpent at the tree and then the expulsion from the Garden of Eden. And you realize that Lorenzo is calling us to see these as the related figures that they are, the old Eve and the new Eve, that redemption, that new life that is brought about. And when one thinks about it, Mary was not well heeled, she was not well off. Mary was just an ordinary woman. And in her desire to love and serve God, she brings about this whole new world, this whole new possibility of relating to God. And I think that that picture is what helps us to see that a little more clearly, and helps you and I to realize that there is something that we can do in our ordinariness to bring about the kingdom in a special way.
And I think a part of what's striking about the show is that, we'll see her image change through time. Shall we think of her as a girl? Shall we think of her as a sorrowful mother? Shall we imagine her as a youthful bride? Shall we think of her, and think of that both as, the bride in human terms, but bride as well as a representation of the church and the bride to God and to Christ. Mary is a queen, Mary is someone humble. We can start to think about the really many ways in which Mary represents human experience for all of us. Mary as the refugee, Mary as ascendant, Mary as perfect, yet Mary as human. Mary, of course, also is the incarnation of beauty.
And that exhibit is in Washington, D.C. until April 12th. And we have a link on our website at iobserve.org for more information. And perhaps nowhere is Mary more revered than in Poland, a country that I had the pleasure to visit this past summer with a Catholic Communications pilgrimage. Poland, a land where faith and culture are one. A land which has endured occupations and hardships, yet whose spirit has never given up. A place which embraces its future while holding on to its traditions and its past. A place which has given the church saints and inspiration. Poland, where faith is lived. From Warsaw to Krakow to Częstochowa. This was the land where St. John Paul II lived and worked for nearly the first half of his life. Father Gary Daly, director of the Catholic Newman Center at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, was our spiritual director.
John Paul II, who lived the message of divine mercy, now took that message and brought it to the whole world.
And to learn more about the roots of the saintly church leader, we walked in his footsteps. Spirituality was felt here and in all of the places throughout the pilgrimage. There exuded a continued presence of the man known to the Poles simply as our Karol Wojtyła.
We call him our Pope in Poland because he was. He was looking after us all, everybody, but for the entire world. He was loved by absolutely everyone in the world.
Everywhere one goes in Poland, there is a reminder, a tribute to St. John Paul II. Poland is a country of 38.3 million people. 87% are Catholic. Poland overcame communism and is now a thriving member of the European Union. We came to a land so far away, yet so close to our hearts, walking in the footsteps of a saint. Wadowice, a small city of about 20,000 people, some 30 miles southwest of Krakow, has gotten international recognition as the birthplace of St. John Paul II. Catholic Communications pilgrims walked in the childhood footsteps of this beloved saint as they visited the home he was born in and the church in which he was baptized.
He lived next door to the church. When I say next door, I mean like 25 feet. He could look out his bedroom window and there was the church right there.
In the church of the Basilica of the Presentation of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Father Peter Gregory celebrated Mass, and the pilgrims were able to see the baptismal font where Karol Wojtyła was baptized.
To come and be in the church where he was presented and dedicated to the Lord through his baptism, it gives us that inner joy to say, thank you, Lord, for my baptism. Do we get in touch with our own baptism? Do we say, thank you, Lord, for my gift of faith? Thank you for the opportunity that I have been given to be chosen to be here.
This was the same church in which young Carol served as an altar boy and made his first communion. His boyhood home next door has been turned into a museum, as has the square in the center of town. Everywhere one looks, there are reminders, statues of our Carol Wojtyła, as the Poles like to refer to St. John Paul II. The house contains many family treasures of those simpler days. Family pictures, his first scapular, his sneakers and his skis, his mother's handbag and her sewing machine. The simple rooms, a dining room, kitchen, and bathroom are preserved exactly as they were in the 1920s. From an early age, Karol Wojtyła faced hardships as they tested his trust in God. His mother died when he was 9, and 3 years later he lost his only brother, a doctor, to scarlet fever. His father died when he was 20, and friends said he knelt for 12 hours in prayer and sorrow at his bedside. Yet to his last days, the late Holy Father remembered fondly his Wadowice youth and places associated with it. Also, he tried to include the town when possible in his visits to Poland. The last time John Paul II was in Wadowice was in 1999, meeting with some 200,000 young people after Mass in the square. He fondly recalled the days of his youth to them. Racing out of the schoolyard, he and his friends would challenge each other to see how many cream cakes they could eat from the local bakery. This story has become very popular for the shop owners here in Wadowice, as everywhere you look in every restaurant, you can find kremówka papieska, the Pope's cream puff. Smaczne. Yes, sweet memories of a man who was and still is so beloved by the people of his native Poland. And I will cherish my memories of that pilgrimage for years to come. I am also pleased today to announce that Catholic Communications and Father Gary Daly will be once again teaming up in 2015 for a 10-day trip to Ireland. And this promises to be unique, visiting some of the shrines and special sites not often visited by regular tours. The trip will take place August 7th to the 18th, and to get on our list for an invite to a special March 4th information night, call our viewer phone line at 413-452-0645. That's 413-452-0645. Don't be disappointed, call today. And for this week, that's Reel to Reel. Remember to stay informed on all of the happenings in the Diocese of Springfield and beyond. Log on to our news and information website, iobserve.org. That's iobserve.org. And a special thanks before we close out to all who so generously donated to our Catholic Communications Christmas Appeal. We are all most grateful for your assistance. To our viewers on 22 News, we'll be off next week for NBC coverage of the NFL playoffs. Everyone else will see an encore edition of Reel to Reel, and we will be back with our first show of 2015 in 2 weeks. So until then, from all of us here on Reel to Reel, our best wishes for a happy and safe New Year.
Reel to Reel is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.